There's a 100% chance I'd rather have the bonus and compensation based on growth than the actual stock, because I benefit just as if I'd owned the stock, and I get more benefit currently by getting the actual cash bonus and not the profit distribution.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about employee compensation, benefits, with a focus on key employees, key employee benefits, and retention and attraction. So when I'm talking about employee compensation, employee benefits, I imagine most people listening are thinking, I think I'm gonna turn this off. I got what I need. I know how that works. I don't need them, or I've been there for long enough and it's 20% more a year and I'm sick of looking at those things. And frankly, there is a ton of change that's going on in the employee benefit space. There's some really cool things to talk about and look at to make sure you have a package that is where it needs to be, and to make sure you've audited what you're doing among the entire benefits package there to make sure you stack up to the competition and that's not a weak point for your business. But beyond that, we're not going to spend a ton of time here on working through those different components. What I really want to focus on is the key employees. That's where the fun is. That's where we're able to find with our clients, it's one of the most primary questions they're struggling with. How do we attract and retain those people that we're really trying to find to grow and build this value out into the future? And B, it's fun. And the solutions there are fast for where we can go. There's really not a whole lot of rules and limits to what we can do there. A few that we'll talk through. But what I want to do is kind of walk through a quick example to show you guys what this means and what this looks like. So as we're building out the employee benefit and compensation structure for the company, we're looking at here what needs to be done at a baseline to make sure you have what you need to be an employer of choice and to not lose employees, rank and file or key, for something that is easily avoidable. That's going to include salary and bonus. And to be clear, yes, bonus is not considered something that is a retention tool or attraction tool. And we'll talk a lot more about this in the conversation after this. Then you move into the basic benefits that you have. So that's going to include health insurance, potentially group life insurance, long-term disability, short-term disability. For anyone who doesn't have the life insurance and disability components, I'd encourage you to look at what those cost. It's often discarded as something that we don't need. There are cases where that is, depending on the size of your team and how many employees you have, it's incredibly affordable. It can make a pretty impactful difference to the folks you work with. So that is something that should always be looked at if you haven't before. Some companies, it can be very expensive, but those are more rare than the common trend. Then additionally, we're going to have those intangibles as part of this base, which is the culture, the work-life balance, PTO schedules, other things that matter to the way that employees feel and are able to go through their day and interact in the company. Now, there's one piece missing on this image, and what that is the flair, the fanciness, the fun. And that's going to be where we get to the benefit structure for key employees. This is where we start to have some fun. And there's a few different ways we can solve it. And those generally are going to revolve around equity positions or equity-like positions or forms of compensation that are going to be advantageous for attraction and retention. So for the equity positions, we're going to be talking about stock grants, restricted stock, other components like phantom stock, which is typically what it's referred to, but basically a stock-like position that provides the value to the individual, but doesn't actually come with an equity transfer. And then there's going to be profits interest, which is similar to phantom stock positions, but has some different components. And what we often see for many businesses, cream of the crop becomes deferred compensation. And that strategy starts to open up doors for companies in many different ways, allowing the components of that program to be designed to incentivize key people to focus on the same areas the business owners focused on, to drive growth and value and revenue in the same exact direction, and they're going to directly benefit from that. And at the same time, receive a ton of tax benefits, and they can see that when they go to leave and go somewhere else, there's a massive pool of money available for them on the table. That's not only incentivizing them to stay, to see that fruits to its fruition, but also to provide some protection to their family. If something were to happen, there's often going to be some sort of protection built into these programs that provides that benefit to their families as well. So their spouse at home is going to be encouraging of them to stay through if things get tough from time to time. So understanding the structure is important because the basics put up the entire structure, including the roof. You have to have the salary and the bonus and the benefits in most cases to even have a company that's fighting for a chance to hold on to the key talent. Really, we get to the flair is when it gets specific to what do you need and what are your people looking for. Beyond the components we talked about relating to regular benefits, one we didn't hit on exactly were our retirement benefits, employee-sponsored retirement plans. So that's going to really be in a couple different categories. Generally, the most common we see is going to be a 401k. The one thing I want to leave you with here is 401ks, it's not as simple as we have a match, we provide that match to employees and this is how we use it. Or, we have a simple IRA because we're not big enough. The evaluation for what retirement plan you need for the company is going to, again, go all the way back to the beginning. What is your personal financial plan and what do you need as an owner? Do you need to get tax-deferred savings? Do you have enough of those? Do you need Roth contributions? And if so, how can we make sure you have that opportunity? There's a lot of different testing and things that we have to look at to see what you're allowed to do with those plans. But a 401k is incredibly versatile. There's a lot of different ways you can design them that aren't necessarily even a financial burden to the company, but can be a huge tool for owners, or potentially the goal is actually to allow employees to use them in certain ways. They can even be customized where key employees utilize a 401k different than rank and file. A lot of these ideas aren't often known for owners, so have a conversation with somebody who's really going to break apart a 401k, help you understand what it can do and how it can tie into everything else you're working on personally for your business and for your employees. As we move through this conversation, again, with the focus on the key employee planning part, which is a primary conversation, we're going to talk with Mike White and really focus on some of the ways we've utilized some plans and strategies with companies here recently, some of those case studies, and the reasons why and examples in which they have really impacted the clients we've worked with in the past. This is probably one of the most heavily focused, asked about areas when we're teaching our workshops or working with clients. There's a lot of questions and unique situations and designs that we spend a lot of time with on how to develop programs to attract and retain key talent for companies. So I think there's going to be some value in us talking about some of the ways that we help owners build those strategies. Thinking back on some recent examples that we've worked on, there's often a situation where owners want to make sure that their key people are benefiting from the growth and value of a company, and sometimes they may miss this, but if someone's working hard and building revenue and really an important part of what your company's doing, if there's no tie-in to them for that hard work, there's no equity component, there's no some sort of way to share in the compensation, it can be tough for them to want to stay long-term because they're building a value for the owner and they're not involved with that. One of the things that we've talked about a lot is the most often place that owners go is a bonus, right? We produce something and a bonus comes out. And I think that, as you've helped me understand as a business owner and working with folks for a long time and seeing it for over 40 years of work with owners, can you explain to me your perspective on bonuses, how that ties in?
I will. Bonuses for employees, key employees, or any employees, are not considered, in my mind, a retention tool by the employee. I can tell you. Matter of fact, we interview a lot of people for our company, and many times if they're interested in joining us, they'll say, I can't join till X date because I get my bonus. So that bonus did not keep them with the company. That bonus kept them with the company an extra month until it showed up as their expected income. And I usually use that example many times about Christmas Vacation. If anyone, for the youngsters out there, sorry, Christmas Vacation, if you haven't seen it, was Chevy Chase expecting his cash bonus, spending it before it got there. And when it got there, everyone gathered around the tree. He got the Jelly of the Month Club instead of a bonus, and he was very upset. Okay. That is an employee's expectation. So I'd say this about key people. If you're going to give them a cash bonus, just know it's out of the kindness of your heart, but it's not going to retain them any longer than they want to stay.
Right. It's a reward, but it's not something that's going to
Retention.
change their idea for staying or not. And sometimes can be counteractive in the sense of now you've given the other employer a number he's got to beat to get that employee over on total comp. So
the other thing I'll say about key employees, and to answer your question earlier about, hey, they're helping to build the company, they expect certain stuff. What can you do for them? Well, first of all, as an employee helping to build a company, yeah, I'd love to benefit from the success of the company. There's multiple ways to do that, by the way, more than one way to do that. Where the employee feels appreciated, the employee is benefiting and getting compensated based on the success of the company, the growth. It is a retention tool, okay? All the things you should want as an owner. But more importantly, it's better for the key employee than stock itself. And I'll give you an example of that. Knowing what I know about owning stock in any closely held company, I know this. If I could get, and I'll make up this number, 10% of the profit each year, or 10% of the stock, I would take the profit over the stock because I could earn $1 million this year as a company and have no distribution to the stockholders, which means I have to pay taxes on 10% of that million. And I don't have any cash to pay taxes with, right? That's the first piece. So if I could have the actual 10% of the profit, I just got a check for $100,000. You guys do what you want about buying new equipment, right? Number two, if you would then tie in how much my payment is to the growth of that stock, even though I don't have any stock, now there's a 100% chance I'd rather have the bonus and compensation based on growth than the actual stock, because I benefit just as if I'd owned the stock, and I get more benefit currently by getting the actual cash bonus and not the profit distribution. Okay, something that employees typically don't understand.
Right.
You've heard that called phantom stock before. I don't like that word, but that's what it is. It's tying value to the stock without physically giving the stock.
Yeah, and there's other terminologies and ways around that. Profits interest. So there could be a profits interest position somebody has that's tied into the interest in the profits of that position. And there's a lot of different ways to. Frankly, it's a really fun place to play in because it's kind of a whole lot you can do. You kind of describe what the outcomes need to be as an owner, work with someone who understands maybe a little more beyond that or could ask some good questions to you, and then build a custom strategy that works for your people and what you're trying to get to.
Can I say one more thing about, you mentioned employee benefits earlier. I know this segment is kind of key people and employee benefits. And employee benefits is probably a whole session if you really want to spend time on it. There's so many things. But I will say one thing about employee benefits that many, many times are overlooked by business owners. They lose the key employee, and it isn't always because of just the income or someone offered them more or any of that. It's not always just because they didn't feel like they benefited from the success of the company. Maybe the benefits aren't good. One of the things I would recommend highly that you consider is make sure someone can put an eye on your benefit package for your employees and for yourselves and for your key people. We call it a benefit audit, someone to audit what you're doing. Here's why you want to audit it, is what you're doing competitive with your peer group. Will it at least be on an equal playing field with your peer group? But you don't want to lose someone because they got a better 401k plan or a better health insurance package or whatever. Have someone put their eyes on that to make sure you're at least competitive.
Yeah, and that ties into, it's one of the things we offer for our clients often is the benefits audit, which there's multiple components to that. And one of them is, property and casualty insurance too. A lot of these things feel like kind of you set it and forget it. And, we have the 401k, we have the benefits, we have the insurance, but is it actually doing what you intended to? Has it been relooked at? Is it tied into the plan? Is the employee workforce and age group matching the type of benefit you're offering? And that's what, the benefit of an audit is. The benefit of a benefit audit is that you're getting that third party look in a comprehensive lens. This is what the whole package is offering. And does that align with what your people need and what you're trying to offer?
It's a good point. And one quick example is the 401k plan so the owner can get as much in for retirement as possible? Or is it, I want to do as much as I can for the employees? Which is it? Because it's kind of two different designs there. So just enough about employee benefit from my perspective, but it should be looked at.
Yeah, it needs to tie into the plan.
It needs time.
And so for the key employees, I do agree that it is, I think the important thing to say about key employee retention and attraction strategies. There are definitely some pretty unique strategies you can custom build for different situations. We have a lot of fun working on those programs. And it's worthy of a conversation. As you mentioned, though, it's not just compensation. Not everybody's motivated by the compensation component. They may have another earner at home that they don't need the income. They're really here for something different. So understanding what each person is looking for, maybe it's paying for their kids' college education. That's their biggest concern in life. Maybe it's having more time away from work to be with family. Maybe it's compensation. Maybe it's culture, just being in a certain type of environment or culture when they're at work. So that full picture needs to be understood through conversations and questions asked to get to what's the right total mechanic structure to build in that attraction and retention of the type of people you're trying to bring into this business.
Yep.
If you're looking for more educational content to expand on this a little further, we have a Business U workshop, which is a longer format workshop here over a 2-day period that allows you the opportunity to sit down with other business owners in the room, to ask specific questions to your needs, and to dig into these topics all the way through the nuts and bolts for everything that may be of concern to you or that you need to know specifically. If you'd like to attend a workshop, there's some information below. Finally, we've been working with business owners in this capacity for almost the last 40 years. And if you're looking for that advocate, that partner to be with you as you're guiding your business, we'd love to have you be a part of the team. And we'd love to see you be that person who brings their business to the ultimate value as their most valuable asset. Thank you.